In this video, we're going to animate this all by using expressions. So welcome to the lesson 17 of the After Effects series, where we're going to learn everything you need to know about expressions in After Effects and how you can make your workflow more efficient with the help of expressions. And as always, you can get the open file of this video from the link in the description. So go get it from there and follow along with this lesson. And without any further delay, let's jump right into it. So now we are in After Effects and let's start with the antenna animation. Let's get inside the head composition and then inside the antenna composition. So the antennas over here are going to rotate randomly over time. Now, if we do it with the help of keyframes, like the way we animate for any other properties, we have to animate it with lots and lots of keyframes, and we have to copy and paste the keyframes multiple times, and it may make your timeline look too confused and messed up. So a better way to approach this is using expressions, and for this one, we can use wiggle expression. So select an antenna and I'm going to open the rotation property. To add an expression on a property, press and hold the Alt key and then click on the stopwatch. Now here we can enter expressions. So we're going to type in wiggle, and inside we have to enter the frequency of wiggle and the amplitude of wiggle. For this one, we're going to give the frequency of 6. That means it's going to move 6 times in a second, and comma 15. So it's going to wiggle in range of 15 degrees, and add a semicolon. And here we have the animation. And right now the animation is too smooth and we want the animation to be a little mechanical and glitchy. So for that, we're going to use postarizeTime expression. So here in the expression panel, we're going to hit enter to move the wiggle expression to the line 2. Now, above wiggle, we're going to type in another expression, postarizeTime. And inside, you can enter the value of the frame rate. So with the help of postarizeTime, you can control the frame rate of that property. So if you enter 12, it's going to animate in 12 frames per second. I'm going to enter 10. And right now, you can see that little glitchy movement because it's animating in 10 frames per second. Now we can even control the expressions with a controller. So let's move to this main composition and let's add a null object. Let's name it controller. And now select the null object, then click on effect. Under effects, expression controls, and here we have some options for the controller. Right now we're going to select slider controller. So click on it. A slider controller is added on this null object. We're going to log this effects and control panel, move to the antenna composition. Now click on the expression panel and we're going to just remove the number from the postarizeTime and move the cursor inside the brackets. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to use this peak whip option. With the help of peak whip, you can link one property with the other with the help of expressions. So we're going to peak whip this rotation with the slider. Now you can see the expressions added for linking the property with the postarizeTime expression. If we change this to 10, it's going to animate in 10 frames per second. If we change it to 12, it's going to animate in 12 frames per second. And now we can copy this entire expression. So Ctrl+C to copy, open the rotation of the antenna tool, press and hold the Alt key, click on the rotation and paste the expression. And now we have successfully added the expression to the other antenna. And in case you want to rotate the antenna in the opposite direction, just enter minus in front of the amplitude. And here we have it. In the similar way, you can animate the hand for this robot. But before animating it, I have first parented hand with the forearm and forearm with the arm, and then added the wiggle expression on the rotation property of these illustration layers. But for this one, I'm just decreasing the frequency and amplitude a little bit. But for the hands, I'm changing the frequency and the amplitude of the wiggle. And this is how it looks. Next, we are going to animate the gears with time expression. So let's get inside the body composition and then the gear composition. So select one gear illustration, open the rotation property, and now if we add an expression called time, just add this expression. What it's going to do is it's going to animate the property over time. And right now it's rotating very slowly because it's rotating over time That means it's going to rotate 1 degree per second. Now to speed up this animation, we can either add something with this expression or multiply time. So right now we're going to multiply with time. So let's multiply it by 70. And now it's going to rotate by 70 times per second. To maintain the same animation style, we can even add the postarizeTime expression. So move the time expression in the line 2, and on line 1, we can copy and paste this postarizeTime expression. So let's select this, copy it, and let's paste it over here. And now for the other gear, we can copy this expression and open the rotation property, paste the entire expression, and we need to rotate this gear in the opposite direction. So just enter -70 and multiply it with time, and here we have it. And now to animate this text box, we're again going to use the time expression. So select the text layer. First, we're going to add an animator for this text, which is character offset. Now with the offset property, we can animate the text like this. So we're going to enter the expression time multiplied by 50. And on top of that, we're going to copy and paste this postarizeTime expression as well. And here we have it. Now let's animate the dial with linear expressions. So let's get inside the composition. First, we're going to animate the dial button with the wiggle expression. So open the rotation property and add wiggle with a frequency of 1 and amplitude of 180. On top of it, we're going to use the postarizeTime expression, so we can copy it from the other compositions and paste above the wiggle expression. Here we have the dial animation. Now to link the dial reading with the dial button, we will be using the linear expression. So open the position property and separate the dimension. And we are only going to work with the X position property. So press hold Alt key and click on the stopwatch. And first we have to check what is the minimum and the maximum value of the X position property. So right now it's giving the maximum reading. At maximum, it's going to have 245. At minimum, it's going to have around 305. So these are the two values we would need. So press and hold the Alt key and click on the stopwatch and type in linear. Inside the bracket, first we're going to link it with the rotation. Add a space, comma, the target minimum and the target maximum. So this is the target property. The minimum of this one would be -180, comma, the maximum of the target would be 180. Because this dial is rotating from this side of around maximum 180 degree and from this side around 180 degree. Now after 180, enter another comma, and now we're going to enter the values which we are going to link with -180 and 180. So when it is going to rotate this side, it's going to decrease the reading, and when it's going to rotate this side, it's going to increase the reading. So in that case, we're going to link it with 245 as the starting range, and the ending range would be 305. And like we have done earlier, we can even add the postarizeTime expression on top of the linear expression. And now the reading is animating with the dial animation itself. So these two properties are completely linked. Now we're going to animate the meter reading with the Math.round expression. Let's get inside the composition and animate the pointer rotation with the wiggle expression. So type in wiggle 1,76. And also I would like to add this postarizeTime expression on top of the wiggle expression. Now let's add a text layer and let's apply slider controller on the text layer. And we're going to add a linear expression on the slider property. So type in linear and then pick whip this property with the rotation, comma, the target range. So in the wiggle expression, we have added the amplitude 76. So -76, comma, 76, comma. Now the range of this slider. So we want to read the text from 0% to 100%. So from 0, comma, 100. And add a semicolon. And we are done. Now after that, in the text property, for the source text, we're going to add another expression. So press and hold the Alt key and click on the stopwatch and enter Math.round and then link this property with the slider controller. And outside the bracket, we can add a plus, then two inverted commas, and inside that a percentage to add the percentage after the number. Now, if we preview the animation, you can see the number is animating with this reading pointer, and also the percentage is reacting based on the numbers. Just in case you want to also display some decimal values as well, for that you have to edit this expression. So you have to remove math.round from here. But after this expression, we have to enter dot value dot to fixed. And inside the bracket, we can add the number of decimal places we want to be displayed in this percentage rating. So I want to display 2 decimal positions. So let's enter 2 and now we have it. And now we can just reposition it and place it over here. And we have the reading animation with the reading pointer. Now we're going to animate the sliders using Math.sin expressions. So let's get inside the composition, select the slider buttons, open the position property, and we're going to separate the dimension. So we're going to animate the sliders in the y-axis. So first let's decide the range in which we're going to animate the sliders. So right now the y position is at around 237.1 pixels. At maximum, it's going to have 212.1, and from 237, the minimum we are going to have is around 264. So from the mid section, we can consider the range within around 28 pixels. So from here, above 28 pixels and below 28 pixels. Now we're going to enter an expression on the y position properties. So press and hold the Alt key and click on it. Type in math.sin. Inside the bracket, time. Now if I only keep time, it's going to take the time. It's going to change the value with time. And to animate the time expression faster, you can multiply it with some value. So we're going to multiply it by 2. And outside the bracket, let's multiply it by 28. And then plus value and add a semicolon. So here the time into 2 is the frequency and 28 is the amplitude. If you want to increase the frequency, you have to change this value. If you want to change the amplitude, you have to change this value. Now let's check out. Now let's add the postarizeTime expression to keep the entire animation style similar. Now we can copy this entire expression and paste it on the other properties of the y position property. Now for the other sliders, we can change the value a bit to add some variations so that all the 3 buttons doesn't animate at the same time. One thing we can do is we can change the sign to cos. It's going to change the phase of the waves. And right now you can see the difference. And for the third one, we can even change the amplitude a bit. We can give negative 28 and it's going to animate in the opposite direction of the first slider. Now we're going to animate the light signals with the random expression. So here we have 1 light on layer and 3 light off layers. So what exactly we're going to do over here is we are going to swipe the position of this light on illustration layer with this 3 light off illustration layer with the random expression. So the light on layer's position is going to change randomly in these 3 positions. Okay, so for that, first start with adding a slider controller and then let's add an expression on the slider, which is math.round, and inside we're going to add the random expression. So random, and inside random we're going to add an array of 2 different values. One is the minimum range, comma, the maximum range. And we have added the random expression inside math.round. So what exactly it's going to do is in a given time, the slider is going to pick a random value from 0, 1 or 2. And now we're going to add another expression on the position property. So first, let's declare a variable. So var and name the variable. I'm naming it pose slider. and you can actually name it anything. But note that you have to use this variable name later on when you are actually going to call this variable with the if-else expression. So post slider equal to, now we're going to link this variable with this slider and add a semicolon. Hit enter to go to the next line, and now we're going to use the if-else expression. So type in if start and closing bracket. Inside if pose slider equal to 1, then add a open and close parenthesis. Inside this, we're going to equip any of these three positions. So open the position property. So let's take this as 0, this as 1, and this as 2. So if the post slider is 1, we can equip this with the middle one. And the post slider is the variable that we have declared earlier. Now also let's hit another enter over here. I mean, it's not necessary, but it is going to be easier to understand if you check the expression later on. After that, else if, then open and close bracket, post slider equal to 2, then open and close parenthesis, hit enter, and then equip this with this one, and just move the closing parenthesis to the next line. So hit just enter. Next again, hit enter and else. So you can again add else if, but we have three conditions. Either it can be 1, 2 or 0. So else, then hit enter, open and close parenthesis, hit enter, and we can equip this one with the first one. And then again move the parenthesis to the next line. And here we are done. And on top of this expression, we can again add the postarizeTime expression. So postarizeTime. And for this one, I would like to keep it on a different frame rate. So let's enter 12 frames per second. This one is looking better. Now we're going to check out the loop expressions. So for that, let's animate the wheel. Let's get inside the composition. So for the wheel, I have already animated the gear with time expression, and the frequency is -70 and 70. And now we are going to animate these wheel strips in the y-axis. So open the position property and let's separate the dimension, and let's place the time indicator at the very start and add a keyframe at the start. And let's jump on to like 1 or 2 seconds, and we're going to move it down. And we actually have to match the strip with the first and the last keyframe. So that is how we make loop animations. So let's jump to the first keyframe and let's bring a ruler and place a ruler on any of the strip. So we are just going to match the position of a strip with this strip. So let's jump to the second keyframe and let's match the position of the next one. Let's place it properly and align it with this ruler. After that, we are going to add a loop expression. So press and hold the Alt key and click on the stopwatch. Now the expression panel is opened. Now type in loop out semicolon. Now there are multiple ways we can loop animations. So this is one way, which is loop out expressions. Now you can see the animation is completely looped, but I think we can speed up the animation a little bit. So we are just going to move the last keyframe few frames backward to speed up the animation. And we can even copy and paste this postarizeTime expression and paste it above the loop expression. Well, this one is looking good. So we have used the loop out expression. There is also something called loop in expression. If I just add in loop in and just preview the animation, you can see nothing is happening because it is not looping. So loop in expressions loop the animation till the last keyframe. So you can see before the first keyframe, it's properly looping. But after the last keyframe, it's not going to loop. And it is exactly opposite to loop out expression. The loop out expression loops the animation after the last keyframe, but before the first keyframe, it's not going to loop the animation. And there is another expression that is loop in plus loop out minus the value. This expression loops the animation before the first keyframe as well as after the last keyframe. And also there are different type of loop animations. So let's select these keyframes and place it at the very start of the timeline. Now we're going to change it back to loop out. Now inside the loop out bracket, we can add a comment. So there is a type called cycle. It's just going to loop the animation in a cycle. And there is another type of loop called ping pong. Now it's going to loop the animation in an oscillating motion. And it is mostly used when you are trying to animate something in oscillation, for example, a pendulum. And finally, let's check out the expression language model in After Effects. When you activate expression on a certain property, so let's select this round rectangle and open the rotation property, press and hold the Alt key and click on the stopwatch. When you activate this expression menu, here you can see few options. With the first one, you can simply activate or deactivate the expression. This is the pick whip, this is the graph option, and with this arrow, you get lots of options for the expressions that are already inbuilt in After Effects. So with global, you get few options like comp, footage. These are some of the expressions that you can use directly from this button. Now, if we select JavaScript math, here you can get math cos, then Math.sin. So these are some of the expressions that we have already used. With property, you actually get the loop in, loop out expressions, even more loop expressions. Here you even have wiggle expression. So let's select the wiggle, and now you have to enter the frequency and amplitude. So here you have to enter the frequency. Let's give it 6 and amplitude of 20. I'm just typing random values. You can see it is wiggling. So I would suggest you to go through it, search it up on Google, learn about these expressions and do experimentation with it. And do let me know what new you came up with. Alright, so that is the end of this video. If you like the video, then make sure to hit the like button. If you have any doubts regarding the techniques, then make sure to comment down below. I'll be happy to help you out. And if you're here for the first time, then make sure to subscribe the channel and hit the bell notification button to stay notified for all the future updates. Until then, goodbye.